This little green one here seems to need a home. I don't know, Charlie Brown.
Remember when Christmas on TV didn't mean scrolling through 5 streaming apps? It meant one shot a year at catching Charlie Brown, Snoopy, and the world's saddest little tree. A Charlie Brown Christmas landed on CBS back in December of 1965 with Charles Schulz's comic strip crew. Charlie Brown, Lucy, Lioness, Snoopy, and the gang jumping from the newspaper into TV animation. What was supposed to be a one-time experiment turned into a decadecile-long tradition replayed year after year until it felt less like a TV special and more like a family member who visits every December, whether you're ready for it or not. Today, we're diving into 15 weird and wonderful facts you didn't know about a Charlie Brown Christmas. From the network panic to the music the execs tried to bury to the product placement hiding in plain sight. Now before we unwrap all of that, hit like and subscribe for more deep dives into the shows and specials we grew up with. And share this video with a friend who still hums Lioness and Lucy the second they see a tiny scraggly Christmas tree. Now, let's get into the countdown with number 15. The network thought they'd ruin 15, nearly got pulled Christmas. When CBS executives screened A Charlie Brown Christmas for the first time, they didn't sit back and soak in the gentle charm. No, their reaction was closer to my golly, we've killed it. They thought everything was a disaster. The slow pacing, the real-life children voicing the characters, the unusually mellow music, and worst of all, no laugh track. No, no, no. Listen, all of you, you've got to take direction. You've got to have discipline. In 1965, that was practically a federal offense. CBS was convinced they had a lump of coal on their hands. But here's the wild part. They had to air it anyway. Why? Well, because the network had already promoted the special across TV, radio, and print. The airtime was locked in, the sponsors were committed, and December programming wasn't something you could rebuild from scratch at the last minute. Pulling it would have meant admitting they'd spent weeks hyping a show they now wanted to hide. So CBS gritted their teeth, crossed their fingers, and aired it. Hopeless, Charlie Brown. Completely hopeless. Rats. And then 45% of America tuned in. Viewers loved it. Critics loved it. The disaster became an instant holiday classic, and CBS immediately pretended they always knew it would work. Amazing what a little over-promotion and a total lack of backup options can do for television history. Number 14. Charles 14. Schulz's Rules. Charles Schulz drew a line in the snow and refused to bunch. Now, if CBS executives thought they had notes, Charles Schulz had commandments. The creator of Peanuts walked into a Charlie Brown Christmas with a list of non-negotiable demands, and he treated them like they were carved on a stone tablet. And honestly, bless him, because every absolutely not on that list is exactly why the special still works today. First rule, no adults pretending to be kids. Schulz insisted the Peanuts gang be voiced by actual children. A wild idea in 1965 when most kids on TV sounded like chain-smoking theater actors doing baby voices. Schulz wanted authenticity, not adults pitching their voices up like they were auditioning for Alvin and the Chipmunks. The second rule, no laugh track. A radical act of defiance for the era, sure, but network comedies lived on laugh tracks. My Own Doggone Commercial. I can't stand it. Oh, they were practically required by law. But Schulz hated the idea of a machine telling people when something was funny. He wanted the awkward pauses, the melancholy beats, and the genuine moments to speak for themselves. The third rule, yes, we're getting religious. Deal with it. Schulz didn't just tolerate Lioness reciting the Gospel of Luke. He demanded it. And there were in the same country shepherds abiding in the field, keeping watch over their flock by night. And lo, the angel of the Lord came upon them. To him, the true meaning of Christmas wasn't optional, and he refused to compromise. Executives panicked, but Schulz stood firm. Without that monologue, the special would have been just another holiday cartoon. With it, it became a classic. Schulz didn't push these rules to be difficult. He pushed them because they were the heart of Peanuts. Number 13. The kid actors who weren't actually actors. Now, if you're 13, cast literacy, ever wondered why the Peanuts gang in A Charlie Brown Christmas sounds so real? It's because none of those kids were acting. Literally, they weren't actors. They were just kids. Regular, unpolished, occasionally distracted California kids who had no idea they were about to become part of TV history. Producers Lee Mendelson and Bill Melendez didn't hire trained child performers. No professional voiceover prodigies, no sitcom kids who could hit a cue on the first take. Instead, they raided local schools and production staff families, scooping up children who sounded authentic. Mistakes, mumbles, pauses, and all. I think there must be something wrong with me, Lioness. Christmas is coming, but I'm not happy. I don't feel the way I'm supposed to feel. Peter Robbins as Charlie Brown, Christopher Shea as Lioness, Tracy Stratford as Lucy. These were kids who often read lines like they were being handed homework. And honestly, that's exactly why it worked. Here's the catch, though. Some of them couldn't read at all. Kathy Steinberg, who voiced Sally, and Christopher Shea were too young to get through the script. So Melendez fed them each line piece by piece and had them repeated back. Engineers then stitched those tiny fragments together like an adorable audio Frankenstein. That clipped, halting rhythm, everyone remembers it wasn't a stylistic choice. It was survival. I remember when I went in to audition, I was 7 years old, but even at 7 I did still suck my thumb, and I did have a blanket, and I did use that. And all of this was recorded in one single day. One chaotic, glorious day of short attention spans, running kids, fraying patients, and Melendez doing everything short of juggling to keep things on track. He famously said directing them was like trying to direct rabbits. But the end result, pure charm. It gave the Peanuts gang a sound no other animated show had. It was awkward, emotional, sometimes halting, and always genuine. It's exactly what Schulz wanted. Real kids try to make sense of a world that didn't always make sense back. In a decade full of squeaky clean sitcom voices, the Peanuts cast sounded like your actual classmates. Think of it as maybe the soil of some great past civilization. Maybe the soil of ancient Babylon. If your classmates accidentally helped create one of the greatest holiday specials ever made. Number 12, The Jazz 12. The music, Vince Guaraldi soundtrack that CBS tried to bury. These days, a Charlie Brown Christmas soundtrack is basically holiday oxygen. You hear Lioness and Lucy, and suddenly you're 8 years old sitting cross-legged on the carpet wondering why your parents keep yelling about tinsel. But that iconic jazz score, the one that makes the special, almost didn't make it to air. The whole thing started with a taxi ride. Producer Lee Mendelson was in a San Francisco cab when he heard Vince Guaraldi's Cast Your Fate to the Wind on the radio. By the time he stepped out, he decided this was the guy who needed to score Peanuts. Totally random and total feint. Guaraldi agreed to compose music for Mendelssohn's documentary, A Man Named Charlie Brown, a doc that never aired, but left behind a treasure trove of demo tracks. Not everyone was sold at first. Some on the production team thought jazz was too mellow, too grown-up for a holiday special about kids. They wanted something bouncier, basically the musical equivalent of Saturday morning cereal commercials. So, Bill Melendez did what any good creative rebel would do. He used the jazz demos anyway in secret. While others imagined flutes and xylophones, the animators were storyboarding to cool West Coast jazz. And something unexpected happened. It fit perfectly. The quiet melancholy, the breezy piano riffs, all of it synced with Schulz's tone so naturally that by the time anyone realized the jazz was the special, Schulz approved instantly. To him, the music felt honest. The emotional glue holding the entire story together. Then came the special. Then came the album. Then came history. The 1965 Vince Guaraldi Trio soundtrack became a holiday juggernaut. Not just successful, one of the best-selling jazz albums of all time. Christmas Time is Here, Skating, O Tannenbaum, all instant classics, now legally required to play in every department store between November and January. Decades later, the album was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame. Guaraldi didn't just score a TV special. He introduced millions of kids to jazz without any of us realizing it. He made Christmas sound sophisticated, even if we were holding juice boxes while we listened. CBS tried to stop the jazz, but now Christmas doesn't sound like Christmas without it. Number 11. Leonis drops the blanket and the entire meaning of Christmas. Leonis's blue security blanket is practically its own character in the Peanuts universe. He drags it everywhere. He sleeps with it. He 11. The message. Linus Van Pelt battles Lucy for it like it's the Hope Diamond. Basically, it's the emotional support item every Gen Zer wishes they could have brought to middle school. But in a Charlie Brown Christmas, that blanket becomes more than a running gag. It becomes the heart of the entire special. Get rid of that stupid blanket. What's a Christmas shepherd going to look like holding a stupid blanket like that? Here's the moment. Charlie Brown having one of the worst holiday seasons of his life, which frankly is every holiday season for him, finally snaps. Isn't there anyone who knows what Christmas is all about? And Leonis, the quiet kid, the philosopher, the one everyone underestimates, steps forward, asks for a spotlight, like he's about to give the most important TED Talk of 1965, and begins reciting the nativity story from the Gospel of Luke. Then it happens. And they were sore afraid. And the angel said unto them, Fear not, for behold, I bring you tidings of great joy, which will be to all people. At the words, Fear not, Leonis lets go of his blanket on purpose. For a character who won't drop that thing, even when he's asleep, this is the closest thing Peanuts has to a mic drop. It's also the only time in the entire special you see him without it. Schulz wasn't subtle here. He wanted viewers to feel it. Leonis isn't suddenly cured. He's not over his fears. He's setting them down because in that moment, the message gives him a security deeper than anything he can hold in his hand. It's the simplest, purest metaphor in the whole special. Hope cancels fear. Well, this is one Christmas shepherd who's going to keep his trusty blanket with him. See, you wouldn't hit an innocent shepherd, would you? And in true Peanuts fashion, the blanket makes one last cameo, but not for Leonis. After the kids mock Charlie Brown's tiny CPR-needed Christmas tree, Leonis wraps the blanket gently around his trunk and says, maybe it just needs a little love. Translation: even the smallest, weakest thing can stand tall when someone believes in it. And yes, that includes Charlie Brown. One blanket drop, one perfect metaphor. One of the most quietly powerful moments in television history. Not bad for a kid who still sucks his thumb. Number 10. The special CBS thought would flop ended up winning TV's biggest award. CBS executives spent weeks pacing the halls, convinced a Charlie Brown Christmas was going to be the biggest holiday disaster since 10. The disaster that won big, Lee Mendelsohn fruitcake. But the moment it aired, America fell in love. And critics did, too. First came the Primetime Emmy in 1966 for Outstanding Children's Program. The winner is In Hollywood, A Charlie Brown Christmas. Lee Mendelsohn and Bill Melendez. Producing producers Lee Mendelsohn and Bill Melendez brought Charles Schulz on stage with them, where Schulz delivered the perfect Peanut-style acceptance line. Charlie Brown is not used to winning, so we thank you. Then came the Peabody Award, praising the special's gentleness and its sensitive, faithful portrayal of the Peanuts world. High praise in an era when most animated TV was loud, frantic, and disposable. The awards weren't just shiny decorations. They proved the special wasn't a lucky fluke. It was something different, something meaningful, something families connected with instantly. The success pushed CBS to immediately order more Peanut specials, including It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, opening the doors to decades of holiday traditions, still airing today. What CBS thought would be a catastrophe instead became a cornerstone of American Christmas. One Emmy, one Peabody, and one very relieved network at a time. Number 9, Snoopy's famous red doghouse started out blue. Everyone knows Snoopy's doghouse is red. Bright, bold, merch-ready red. You've seen it on lunchboxes, t-shirts, holiday decorations, Halloween specials, the 2015 movie. It's 9, a surprising color choice. Snoopy everywhere except in A Charlie Brown Christmas where it's blue. Yeah, Snoopy's world-famous red doghouse actually started off as a chilly blue cabin in the very first Peanuts TV special. And it wasn't a mistake, it was a strategy. In the black and white comic strip, Schulz never signed it a real color, which gave the animators total freedom when they brought Peanuts into color TV for the first time. What's going on here? What's this? And because early color broadcasting was basically a technical minefield, red was the last thing they wanted to mess with. On 1960s televisions, red tended to bleed, hum, or look like someone smeared ketchup on the screen. So the team chose blue, a cooler, cleaner shade that popped beautifully against the snowy backgrounds and didn't freak out early color sets. For that one special, the blue doghouse became part of the Peanuts winter aesthetic. But once later specials rolled around, it's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown Thanksgiving, and everything after. The doghouse settled into its permanent red identity. By the time merchandise took over the world, blue was long gone, and Snoopy's house was officially fire engine red forever. So, while the doghouse is red now, and in pretty much everything you've seen since childhood, its TV life began in blue, a tiny piece of Peanuts history hidden in plain sight. And if you remembered it as red in the Christmas special, well, that's just the power of Snoopy branding at work. Number 8. The special literally invented the annual holiday TV event. When A Charlie Brown Christmas premiered in December of 1965, CBS thought they were airing a one-off curiosity, a nice little cartoon that might get decent ratings and then disappear forever. Instead, it ate. How a one-off became a tradition. Charlie Brown accidentally invented an entirely new kind of television, the annual holiday special. Before this, animated programs were usually one and done. They aired, they vanished, and that was it. No reruns, no traditions, no families gathered around the TV waiting for a certain night. Animation was disposable. Then Charlie Brown showed up and changed the rules. The special was such a massive, unexpected smash that CBS immediately locked it in as a yearly broadcast. And in the era before VCRs, cable, or streaming, this was a huge deal. If you wanted to watch A Charlie Brown Christmas, you had one shot, one night a year, and families organized their schedules around it. People literally circled the air date and TV guide like it was a dentist appointment they actually wanted to attend. That's where the term appointment television really came to life. It wasn't just a show anymore. It was a ritual. And that ritual reshaped the entire holiday TV landscape. Networks suddenly realized that a great animated special wasn't filler. It was reliable, repeatable ratings gold.